Welcome back to the Daily Faith Journey Podcast. I'm your host, Kendra. Every day we make the decision to choose faith over fear, and here we have real conversations. Let's go ahead and dive into today's topic and grow together. Welcome back, family. Here we go into episode 11, Hearing God's Voice for Yourself. Directly talking about how to discern God's voice personally and also trust his guidance, and just what can we do better as we're trying to actively seek God. Not only as he does he listen to us, but also we should listen to him. He responds, he either delivers us, he gives us peace, clarity, gives us direction, but the reality of it is sometimes he's silent. And what does that look like for you is what I'll be talking about. So, of course, we're going to start off with our Bible verses because you need some reference and scripture for sure. And the first thing I want to read is going to be John 10:25 through 27, the NIV version. Jesus answered, "I did tell you, but you do not believe. The works I do in my Father's name testify about me, but you do not believe me because you are not my sheep. My sheep listen to my voice. I know them and they follow me." Of course, Jesus promises that if you belong to him, you can hear him. His voice is familiar, personal, and trustworthy. But the key here for me is that he knows his sheep. So he knows those who really follow him, not those that want to speak to him just because they saw maybe a prophet. Because I know some people, they do use their gifts for to get paid. That's a little deep, but and then others or psychics are completely separate from a different realm and different things like that, witchcraft and stuff like that. But not going too deep into that because maybe God called you to be blessed for your gift. I think that is territory that is, I'd say, a slippery slope, but I'm not skilled enough, in my personal opinion, with an opinion, or do I have enough information? I feel like as far as studying that where I can speak on that, but it just made me think about him knowing who we are. That's what came to me. What came to me right now. Jeremiah 33, verse 3, chapter 33, verse 3, NIV version. "Call to me, and I will answer you and tell you great and unsearchable things you do not know." God desires to speak to us, and he doesn't hide from us or anything like that. He definitely invites us to ask, expect, and listen. And I know the easiest way to put that is it's a conversation and you have a relationship with Jesus. And the Lord is our Father. So you got to think about like how any parent with their child is. You have an expectation that they listen to you, but you also have you expect for them to speak back to you too, but you expect for them to listen. So I mean, it goes both ways when you think about our relationship with Christ, as well as knowing things that you do not know. There are things that our children do not come out of the womb knowing. It's always easier to correlate it back to like a parent-child like relationship. And our children are still going to make whatever choices that they want to make. But the best way to really think about that is going to be that you don't know everything. When you're born, you are teaching your children, whether that's how to brush your teeth, whether that's being potty trained, and just thinking about Proverbs, just the wisdom that is in Proverbs and the instructions that we receive in the Bible. That's why we're training our children up to learn how to make decisions. And so as things become known to us, the Lord goes before us, knowing what path is best for us. I think the key to the listening piece is sometimes we don't want to listen because our heart is set on one thing and we have a plan. And I can personally say that for myself. And no matter if it's something I haven't done before, it's very difficult until you reach a certain place in your relationship with God where all you have is the ability to trust him. Because he will put you in those situations where, you don't know what is going to happen next. I do feel like I'm in that season right now where I have no control over anything or everything at all, whether that's my career or like how I feel financially right now. And I do know that I am daily reminded of that the Lord is a provider and that He is still the source, no matter what it looks like. And there are some people around me too in that same season of not knowing where the next bill is going to get paid from or how that looks, and some people that have sickness that is going on that they are facing and battling that is impacting their ability to work, to be consistent, to do a certain type of work. And the job market is extremely difficult right now because a lot of people are getting laid off. A lot of people need jobs. A lot of people would like to work from home. It's just so much that's just going on. The work ethics are just not what they used to be. And I do think that that kind of correlates to when we talk about the discipline that we have with listening, even for God's voice. I know a lot of times when we think about prayer, we are talking to God and building that relationship and asking for things. God gives us the permission to ask for things, right? In prayer. But at what point are you preparing yourself with a gentle heart, a humble heart, gentle, humble heart, in order to lean in and listen? When are you able to remove all the chaos and be like, okay, Lord, I don't know what your voice sounds like or what is going to be next for me, but I'm ready to listen. Telling the Lord you're ready to listen and asking for instructions on what you need to do next. But the biggest part is being quiet. What do you have quiet time? I'm in a quiet time right now, and I've been able to knock out a lot of these episodes. I've been able to knock out a lot of praise and worship. I've been able to keep my anxiety at bay that I struggled with before, that is trying to creep back up because of losing. Well, I don't want to say losing because I never was in control of anything. I just thought I was. That's my flesh talking. But because of not having control over certain situations and certain things that are out of order for me. I like a regimen. I like to rinse and repeat the same type of schedule. And when that is shaken up, I tend to have a response that's not the healthiest flesh-wise, like the anxiety that I just mentioned. And so how I cope in situations like that is prayer, honestly, and just remembering that everything. Romans 8:28. I say that all the time. I said it earlier today because I was someone had asked me about, a friend of mine had asked me about going to the doctor and different things like that. And shoot, it was more so like, you know how you empathize with someone because of something that they're going through or something that they have to do. And I instantly just felt like, which I said, I was like, no, life is going the way that it's supposed to. That is what I anchor myself in, is Romans 8:28, because my heart, I believe the Lord. I believe that I am His daughter. I believe that He loves me. I believe that my marriage is a gift. I believe that me being a parent is a gift. I believe that I would like to continue to manage the gifts that He has given me, the blessings, correctly. I don't want to mishandle anything that God has allowed for me to do. My job is a gift, like for my mental health, for me able to be able to have this space, for me to be able to have a good work-life balance. I do believe that those things are gifts, and sometimes you get anxious because you want more, and that's just an emotion, and it's up to you to train your flesh and your body and your mind to not respond that way, but to respond by believing and having faith toward the relationship that you built with God through prayer, repetition, and being quiet, having a quiet time and knowing like what God's voice sounds like, for sure. 1 Kings 19:12 NIV version. The Lord said, "Go." This is when the Lord sent an angel, was talking to Elijah. At this time, Elijah had ran away from Jezebel and had been in the wilderness, had previously just asked the Lord to take his life at that time. But the angel had appeared to Elijah with food and water because the journey was great. And 1 Kings 19:12, the Lord said, "Go out and stand on the mountain in the presence of the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by." Then a great and powerful wind tore the mountains apart and shattered the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind, there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. The key here is, one, yes, you hear God's voice. Two, it's not going to always be in the midst of when you want to give up. right then and there. Sometimes you expect something immediate, but there's an angel to keep you and sustain you until it's time and until your heart and your mind is in a place to receive a word from God. 3, God's voice is often in a still, quiet moment or one-on-one. Think about it. I instantly thought about Jonah. But anyway, who was also disobedient but still was hearing from God. And not something that is loud, but it's peaceful. Not like a pressure or... Because when there are things that are chaotic around you, this is just what we call distractions and disruptions. There's no way you can hear with clarity. So sometimes we have a tendency, including myself, on assuming that God will be loud and disruptive whenever he speaks to us. That things will shatter into pieces and condemnation will rain down because maybe you made the wrong decision. But we have a compassionate God that you have to remind yourself that he loves us. He knows how much correction, love, reassurance, and comfort that we need on a daily for us to be able to sustain and the mercy that he extends, a merciful God over our lives. And when God speaks to you, I'm not saying that it can't be loud and then it won't, because sometimes God has spoken to me and it's just been a hard no. Like it's like a hand hitting a desk, like no, versus like a gentle, soft, not right now, no, or even God posing a question of, didn't I give you another instruction? So I do think it depends on what season you're in too in your life, with what correction or what God speaking to you sounds like. I haven't been really big into signs from but that's because of my relationship with God, because I try not to read too much into signs. I just like he know you got to tap me on the shoulder, send the angel, send the word, or like allow something. I don't want to say allow, because I just learned something differently by saying it, but that he orchestrates something to strategically happen in my life to where I turn to him and I can either ask confirmation or it is confirmation of something that I have prayed. So that's what helps there in understanding like what my faith looks like. And Psalms 34:4 in the NIV version, I sought the Lord and he answered me. He delivered me from all my fears. I mean, when we seek God, he not only listens, but he responds. It's just what I was saying earlier, is that even when you are scared, fear leaves you. If fear is temporary, fear is something you have to allow in. Fear is something that you have to be in agreement with, because even the word says that the Lord did not give us a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. So for us to be afraid, and we're already fighting from a place of victory, because Jesus did what? He woke up with our power in his hand. And in order, when you wake up with our power in your hand and the keys to hell, what am I fearing? All things have to bow at the name of Jesus. So even just saying Jesus, there is an attention seeker. There's an attention getter, grabber, whatever you want to call it, for every general, every lieutenant, every strong man, every stronghold, every spirit of, no matter what it is, spirit of joy, spirit of heaviness. The angels have a certain there is a respect factor that is there. So when I seek the Lord, which is the primary instruction that we are supposed to do through prayer, he hears and he answers. When he answers, our ways are not his ways, our thoughts are not his thoughts. So what could be 1,000 days to us could be 20 minutes, right? That's the scripture that talk a little bit about that, but I don't know it off the top of my head. I heard Pastor say it. And I got Isaiah 54:5, chapter 50, verses 4-5, NIV version. The sovereign Lord has given me a well-instructed tongue to know the word that sustains the weary. He wakens me morning by morning, wakens my ear to listen like one being instructed. The sovereign Lord has opened my ears. I have not been rebellious. I have not turned away. I know I paused. I did. I paused there. And you want to know why? Because so many times we want to listen to God, but if He does not say something that we don't want to hear, we can't believe it's Him talking to us. And that's definitely something I could say for me about the words and stuff that have been spoken to me. I'll tell you, the first time I've heard God speak to me before. However, God confirmed that He was speaking to me, and that is a totally different ball game, because I'm just believing that I hear God, right? And I'm repeating what's said to me. But I started working at the company that I work for now, and this African American young lady, she was a stay-at-home mom, and she tells this story to everyone. And now she started working at the company that I work for now. She's no longer employed there, but our first meeting together, one-on-one, our first meeting, I don't know anything about this young lady. I just knew that she was a stay-at-home mom and that her kids had gotten of age and she was ready to enter the workforce. And we are on Zoom. We're talking. I got on a hat and a t-shirt, a bad hair day. And I say that was relevant because of this. At first, I wasn't going to turn on my camera because I didn't feel that I was dressed appropriate, especially for a first meeting. And this is someone who just started the company, right? But I turned on my camera, but then I immediately shared my screen because I was going to be teaching her something about like how the systems and stuff work or whatever, right? So I was just going to like coach her a little bit. And all I heard was her say, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I'm like, what is going on? Like, I mean, literally, it was just that quick. I put up my screen, shared my screen. She was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. My son has seizures." Because I didn't say what at this point. My son has seizures. And he had fell off the couch and I had to go check on him just to make sure he was okay. Like, I mean, like you could hear, he was fine. But it was just like I could hear a shift in her tone where she was still trying to remain professional for work. And it was like I had to stop sharing my screen, and the Lord just started like downloading stuff. It felt like a download for me. So like I saw things, right? Like I see her standing, in a bathroom, in a mirror, and then I'm telling her, and she's confirming for me that this happened. Like I'm telling her what was said, and she's confirming me that this was her prayer, her private prayer. I do not know this lady. This is my first time, and I am like losing it. And my best friend, she's a little bit more trained here for me than me in this area. And I was telling her about the encounter and stuff that I had. And I was like, emotionally, I was losing it, bro. Like I was absolutely losing it. Now I have done a better job of handling my emotions. If the Lord has a word for someone, or He wants me to pray for them, or He wants me to speak to them. But I do know that I had to ask like a spiritual leader one time when I was interceding for someone, because the pain in my body started to get unbearable. Like, and I started like crying uncontrollably to where like I could not control my emotions. And I'm like, what is going on? Because I know that I have trained, like I'm training for this. It's kind of like a marathon, like a Jesus athlete. I guess that would be the best way to say this. And so then like we go from my first encounter with someone, right, and confirming the spirit of prophecy, confirming words that I am the vessel that the Lord is using. And I'm just like all over the place. I'm crying. I'm grabbing my head. I'm like, Lord, what is happening? Lord, what is happening? Like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But like also like I'm just saying stuff. I can't even tell you 1,000% what Allah said. I'm pretty sure this person can, because this is their word, and I had this conversation with them. But I remember like bits and pieces, but I can't say word for word. And then like when I had that prayer, and I was just like, what is going on? And so then I got a little bit of understanding about, the angels being there, and the Lord releasing my prayer and receiving my prayer on behalf of others. So I do know that I have a calling to intercede for others. That is something that God has given me as a gift. And there will be some times that I cannot pray, because there are some things that I'm not supposed to pray about, that I'm not supposed to put my mouth on, and others are supposed to pray for themselves, or either just revolving cycles and situations that people have to agree to separate themselves from. And God will do that. God will tell you that you can and that you cannot help somebody. God will tell you that you can and that you cannot pray for someone. And then when people ask for prayer, right, and if the Lord does not release me to like go into like a prayer and stuff like for them, you typically just say, praying, done, or I can typically just say, the Lord's will be done. What's done will be done, right? And because that's the most that I could be released to say. And that's, now I will say, I do not play about praying for people, praying over people, allowing people to pray over me, because I do know that I trust to speak to the Lord in those cases, unless it's like my best friends and stuff like that, whom He has allowed for me to be called to intercede on behalf of, as well. And I do know that just God has just been absolutely amazing with letting me hear His voice and like speak, because that first time when I was saying something, I was not confident, and I was like, what is going on? And so when she confirmed it, it then later led to my second encounter. I want to say after that, like a month or so, could have been, yeah, it had to be like about a month. And I don't think it was a whole year, or it could have been, I can't remember off the top of my head. But anyway, it happened, and I ended up speaking into a young man that I had no clue anything, didn't know anything about him, and it was my best friend. It was the person that he bought his house from. Confirmed some things for him. But I don't believe that had I not had that first encounter previous to this, that I would not have been as confident that I was hearing the Spirit of the Lord. And to me, hearing the Spirit of the Lord most of the time is something that I don't know. Something that I don't know about someone, or it's not how I speak. So how I talk, I have like, I mean, you've been listening to this podcast for umpteen episodes now, but I am trying to be as professional as possible on this podcast. But sometimes I draw my words out. Sometimes I skip words. Sometimes like I get very lazy, and you might hear like some slang come out. But I do know how to speak. And sometimes the word choices are so far beyond my regular my regular speech, that the words I choose, why I can't think of the word right now, boom, that tells you right now how I talk. But how I would regularly speak, I have discerned at this point where I am spiritually that is the Holy Spirit just in for me, like going in for me, or going in on my behalf. And a long time ago, people be like, oh, what will you pray? What will you pray? If I don't know what to pray, I don't know what to say, because I don't want to babble on, I do ask the Holy Spirit to intercede for me for what I need. But I have also just been trying to be so quiet and just not ask for anything, because at this point, how I feel in my life, Lord, I know you know. I've said it a couple of different times, but I do ask every now and then. Do try to be very specific, because I need the Lord for sure. And so it's what it feels like when the Lord speaks to me is I feel like an unction or urge to do something. Like, and then the second part would be, I don't know, it's all things. It's like sometimes it's clear and I get some peace about some situations. Sometimes it is not. I feel terrible. It be the Lord be like, you shouldn't have did that. Or you shouldn't have said that. And I'd be like, yep, you're right. I shouldn't have said it. I'm sorry. And then I got to figure out how to apologize to the person and eat my words, because I'd be mad. I'd be like, yep, I shouldn't have said that. Or said it how I said it. Or like sometimes I just feel like I shouldn't listen to stuff, because I just be, or people that be trying to vent to me, because I be ready to say something else. And I just be like, man, I don't need to say anything. I don't need to say anything to you. So, or come in like on said situation, I need to be like super mindful for sure. So, and discerning the difference between it being a thought, emotion, or fear. So like when Jesus does talk to me, it sounds like more like a thought, but I believe that's a relationship that we have. And also I don't feel if anything could be out of fear, unless, like, you have to know the difference between the two. Like, if you know how to respond in fear because you've responded in fear before, you need to also look at what you're being directed to do or what you hear in your mind for you to do to be able to discern on if it was fear or not. um yeah, I would definitely say that for sure that I have obeyed God with something that He has told me to do, and I knew it was Him because it either impacted somebody else's life or the complete outcome of just like the total situation. Once I had peace, I would say about once I had peace about changing jobs, everything just can't came together. Like, I mean, like, you'll know the difference when God is in the middle of something versus something that's chaotic and just not working. And with sometimes the enemy will do little things that are kind of build up and be like, oh, this is not working, this is not working, it's not supposed to work. But sometimes, like, there are things that do happen. You're gonna run into obstacles and barriers because the devil does not want him to reach who God destined you to be. So, of course, there are going to be things, but you're going to have to determine, like, okay, God, did you give this instruction or what happened? So, I would say that, and also for me to hear God daily, like when I'm choosing my relationship with God daily, it is a lot to do with, it has a lot to do with, like, I get prayer. Yeah, that's the easiest way to say it. And like some worship, like good worship as well. So I do know that, like, some good worship music, and then or something where I can speak over it, this is pulling me into the zone for sure. Like, it's pulling me into, like, that moment that, okay, God, we're here, I'm in front of your throne, like, I'm trying to pour out my soul to you, I'm trying to pour out my heart to you. And that's when I feel like I hear from the Lord most. And then I just sit quiet after that, or while I'm praying, things will start to come out while I'm praying for someone or either for myself, and then I know it's the Lord giving me or them like a word, and I just try to make sure that I say something back as well. And I want to say that the hardest thing that I've ever done though is pray and God does not say anything. Like, God is so silent right now. I have not, like, I am just on my faith right now and believing, because God is dealing with, I'm trying to, like, just being honest, I'm trying to be mindful because it's not my testimony to tell, but God is dealing with a certain area that's with some people that are connected to me, that it could impact me, and it does sometimes, but like, it's nothing that I could do or nothing that I could say, as well as something that I have not been released to say, and that I, like, he's just not saying anything. And honestly, that is the most frustrating part. Like, it is frustrating. So when I look at me not hearing God, sometimes I mean, if I'm just being real, sometimes I get sad, and my emotion is sad because I'm just like, Lord, I know you've spoken to me before. I know you can speak to me as well. And like, where is it? So I'm just thinking currently about what it's like going, hearing God be silent. Like, I feel like I'm so hard on myself. I don't give myself grace. And that's not the way that it's supposed to be. And I know when I was listening to one of the I was listening to one of the sermons by Pastor Darius Daniels, and one of the main things that he was talking about in his sermon was, at some point God expects you to use wisdom when making the decisions, when listening and taking on the heaviness of somebody else's situation and stuff like that. And the biggest part for me is also determining when God would like for me to use wisdom or when God would just like for me to pause. And I do think just sitting here talking about it that I should, as I believe that God is silent, I do believe that I should pause as well. By pause, I mean like prepare and position myself to be in a place of listening to the Lord, listening to try to see what He has to say and how He has to say it, what tone He's going to say it in, and just make sure that there's nothing that's distracting me or that I'm not allowing other things to take up my time to where God can't even speak to me. So I'm appreciative that even if I hear God, God speak, whether it's for me or somebody else right now in this very moment, I'm thankful because God does still speak to me, and that's just a confirmation. Like, I would never want to lose the ability of hearing the Lord speak. Period. That's just scary because I enjoy it. It's comforting. Like once it's done, it's comforting. Whether it's my word or someone else's word, it's comforting to know that God sees you. That Elroy sees you. That God knows. He answers. He's listened to you. Whether He sends me or sends someone else that's a prophet, like that God sees you. And I think that that's like amazing. Fasting does help, and the reason why I say like fasting is, to me, by definition, when you're removing something that has your attention and your time, but that is taking up attention and time from you giving that time and attention to the Lord. Like if you are forgetting to pray and different things like that, whether it's scrolling or yes, you probably do daily devotional, but just remember you do need to enjoy your life too. So some people do food fast and stuff like that. Contact your doctor. I know that there are some other people with certain ailments and things like that. God would not want you to endanger yourself, like, or your life, and you're about to die or something because because you want to do this fast. I think you know what, and also just being honest, I had a lot of thoughtful moments of pausing during this episode of this podcast. But honestly, that's because like that's what it sounds like, to try to listen to God, and also to make sure that I'm guiding and directing you right by using my personal examples. Hearing from God, like yes, it is such a blessing, but like when the first time you hear it, like it's kind of like, whoa, who's talking to me? Or is this right? And sometimes it'll just sound like your voice. So God will know how to speak to you. You won't hear God the same way everybody else does hear God. And I think that's a key component of knowing it. Everybody doesn't speak in tongues, and everybody doesn't hear God the same way. Everybody doesn't have the gift to teach. Everybody doesn't have the gift to preach. We all have different gifts for a reason in which they're supposed to have, but we have one common goal, and that's to draw all men to Jesus as well. So if you belong to Jesus, you can hear His heart. You don't need a platform, title, or just a sign. Just know that you just have to be willing and have your heart posture right and listening posture, just like for Jesus. Because God also speaks through His word. It's His spirit, and just a closed door could also be assigned to Him speaking to you. So remember to not second guess, like just hearing from the Lord, but because you have access to God. I think a lot of people forget that they have access to God. That is what your prayer is. It is a conversation. You do not need to talk to a pastor to talk to God. Like God will not only talk to you through a pastor or a prophet. Like that is just not true. So you have access to God too. So just remember that, and especially when you're building your relationship and everything with Jesus. Again, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for joining us today. Remember to like, share, comment on Facebook, and share with your family and your friends. And catch us for our season finale, the next episode. Be blessed.